What's going on? It's your boy Bowie here. Back at it with another video, but this is a different kind of video. I'm actually going to react to a video that I saw concerning MK11 and MK1 by this YouTuber by the name of Lou from the Hue. I've never done a reaction video before, and as a matter of fact, I recorded an earlier version of this, and that video wound up being 53 minutes long, which I thought was way too long, so I'm doing it again. I'll just react and let y'all decide what's happening.
What's up, people? No intro, no ads, no sponsors, you know, all that good stuff. I done finally figured it out. I know why MK players hate Mortal Kombat 11 so much.
Stop. Yeah, for one, you already fucked up. Generalizing MK players is problematic in and of itself because every community has varied segments. Most especially the MK community, because every MK game is completely different from its predecessor and the ones that preceded those. So we basically have 4 different communities within the MK community, you know, one for each of our MK titles. But even if that weren't true, there are certain segments of players that do hate MK11, but there's an ever-growing segment that does not hate MK11, and they swear that they love MK11 now, especially now that MK1 is out and it doesn't fit what they think is a good MK game. Me, when, you know, during the time that MK11 was out, I loved MK11. I made lots of videos saying that MK11 is a good game. It's a fun game. It's one of my favorites, right? But a lot of that was being fueled by the fact that it wasn't MKX. You know, MK11 had its own merits, and it brought back elements of gameplay that I preferred a lot, such as neutral, spacing, anti-airs, footsies, all that stuff. All that made a triumphant return with MK11. That's why I liked it. So even when the game was out, everyone didn't hate it. Now that the game is a past game, people still don't universally hate it. So pretending as though people do is disingenuous. Continue.
A little late to the party, I guess, but I'm about to reveal some shit to all the people who
Yeah, he's late, all right.
attention. Actually, I'm about to expose these MK players. Yeah, that's right. So I'm gonna say this right now. If you love MK1, this ain't the video for you, bro. You can watch.
Shit,
You
you
can
ain't
disagree,
lying.
but you can't dispute the fact of what we see with our own eyes when we watch y'all play this game.
The facts, quote unquote, that he brings up, they ain't even facts. Because what's the point of you bringing things to observe when you're not going to interpret them correctly? Anyway.
Okay, so what was the main gripe with MK11? Was it the anti-airs?
No one griped about anti-airs in MK11. Knock that shit off.
Don't they still have uppercuts in Mortal Kombat? I don't know, you tell me. Ding ding. That's your sound cue for all the people in the back that don't understand sarcasm. And speaking of uppercuts, what do y'all call it in MK? Down twos?
If you don't know what the universal button system is for fighting games, and you think that that's just specific to MK, I don't know what to tell you, Playboy. I really don't. Maybe the number system is an MK thing. Who knows, right? But never mind. Let me continue.
Is that it? The down twos were hated for being one of the highest damage combo starters in MK11? Well, that's funny. I have a question. What popular...
Nobody hated down twos because they were the highest damage combo starters. Like, for many of us, it had been a dream for us to be able to combo from uppercuts. That's something that players always wanted to be able to do anyway. Sometimes we could do it in games like MKX. Characters like Melina and Goro could combo off of their uppercuts in the corner, you know, but being able to do it mid-screen was actually a dream. But the problem is how it was done. The KB system that allowed us to combo from uppercuts was deeply flawed. See, instead of players being able to combo from an uppercut off of a good read, motherfuckers could just mash uppercuts in the neutral. And if you so happened to be using your long range high footsie button to play neutral or to try to whiff punish, and the person just so happened to be mindlessly uppercutting in the neutral, boom, they get a down 2 KB. If you so happen to knock down a Jade player in the corner and your character doesn't have a mid to check her with, and so you go in to try to attack her when you see that she's not going to wake up with a high attack, boom, down 2 KB. That's the part we didn't fuck with.
A 3D fighting game out right now allows you to get some good combos off by knocking the player in the air. Ding ding! Uh-oh, you just made a mistake and now you gotta hold this 30% combo all because you guessed wrong.
That's the case in every Mortal Kombat game. I don't know what kind of point he's trying to make here. Is he trying to suggest that we don't want to punish people for 30% combos for our mistakes? Bro, if I get a 30% damage combo off a mistake, I consider that a personal failing on my part because I should have made it 45 or I should have made it 50%. Okay? We are used to with punishing people for 40%. Well, I say we as if we're like one collective. Us more advanced players are used to MK9, where when you were wrong and you got whiff punished by a character like Katana, she was going to do 43% damage meterless to you. We're used to that. And then if you jumped at the character, she was going to take 33 to 38% off of you meterlessly in the air, and you couldn't do shit about it because you couldn't break the combo. We're used to that. Okay? That's the system we come from. We come from a game like an MK9 where if Cyrax had 1 bar of meter, you could get your whole fucking health bar deleted. Your whole health bar deleted with 1 reset. And he had several resets that he could do. Okay? That's the game we come from. We ain't got no problems with getting our mistakes punished for 30% or punishing people's mistakes for 30%. That ain't no fucking issue. So characterizing it as though it is disingenuous and disgusting. Move on.
Now that's actually hilarious. Go complain about that.
Also, MK1 punishes people hard as a bitch for making a mistake. Try being unsafe against Katana. Try being unsafe against General Shao. Try being unsafe against Ashra or Kenshi and see what kind of combo damage they do to you. Whiff anything against Johnny Cage when he has his hype meter and see what kind of combo damage you receive for your trouble. It's going to be a hell of a lot more than some 30%. Continue.
That to all the Street Fighter 6 players and see how well that goes. Now, was it MK11's hitboxes? I've seen
both games had bad hitboxes. As a matter of fact, Mortal Kombat has had wonky hitboxes since the Midway era. That shit ain't nothing new. Move on.
Players complain about that. You mean the same shenanigans that's in MK1? Okay, so apparently this is fair game now, but it wasn't 5 years ago? Because this hitbox stuff is in both games. How about this?
We don't give a fuck about this.
Not even physically
Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck.
So all that's left is the, oh, there it is. There it is.
That shit is a problem. So, for one, I'm going to spend some time on this. Because old boy here, Lou from the Hue, you being disingenuous as a motherfucker right now. So for one, if you're going to list a series of issues that people had with MK11, get the issues right. Make sure you list all of them. Okay? Nobody gave a fuck about anti-airs or lack thereof. No one gave a fuck about, what was that other shit you said? Doesn't fucking matter. Not important. Our issues were all related to the new mechanics that nobody asked for that were implemented to fix issues that weren't actually real issues. So, for one, there's nothing wrong with the 3-tiered MK9 meter system that we had. Nothing was wrong with it. There were disparities in how certain characters built meter, because zoners built way more meter than non-zoners did, right? And so NRS decided to address that by having a universal meter system in which it built up over time. It was segmented and it built up over time. See, time was a big theme of Mortal Kombat 11, seeing as how they're dealing directly with the Keeper of Time and timelines and going back and forth between different dimensions and shit. Like, time was a huge theme of MK11. And so a lot of what they did revolved around that mechanic. Right? And so that's why we had meter that replenished itself with time. So that in and of itself, a lot of pro players didn't care for that, because there was skill involved with successfully building your meter and managing the meter that you built. Sometimes the better player wasn't the player that did the better combo or hit the flashier combo. It's the one who preserved their meter and saved it for the right time. You see what I'm saying? Anyway. But on to these issues. Issues were, yes, Breakaway was the main issue, but I'm going to leave that for later. KBs were unevenly distributed amongst the cast. That's the crushing blows. People got crushing blows from doing innocuous things like grabbing folks. So if you grab somebody while they happen to be pressing a button, they could tech the wrong way, and then the next grab automatically did 30%. That's silly. Certain characters got crushing blows for doing things that they would normally do. Sub-Zero got slide crushing blows that he was guaranteed to hit. Meanwhile, Johnny Cage, his nut punch crushing blow, I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen someone hit that shit. Because he wouldn't just randomly whiff no fucking nut punches or use it as a punish. Anyway. So that's one problem. Crushing blows, good idea, unevenly distributed. The game purposely toned down combos to make room for crushing blows. That was one of the main complaints. The game lacked combo routes, and many characters didn't have either a launching string or a launching special, and you needed meter to combo. So this led to players discovering their character's best stuff within day one, and then you were stuck doing that shit and not discovering shit else with your character for the rest of the game's life. That's stale. A huge part of fighting games is digging deeper, discovering new tech, discovering new dirt. All that stuff is hype and it's fun. MK11 took all that shit away. by removing so many of our best tools, so many launchers, combo routes, all that stuff. This led directly to the cambio system that we have today. Okay? So that's the second issue. Third issue, the wake up system. You had a trillion damn wake up options. That's what it felt like. Characters specifically had delayed wake up. They could wake up jump. They could wake up 2. They could wake up 3. Up 3 was invincible. Up 2 was not invincible, but it was a launcher. That's already a guess. Then you could wake up roll, either forwards or backwards. Now the wake up 2s, up 3s, they each cost 1 segment defense, 1 segment offense bar. Okay. Except the wake up roll only cost 1 segment of defense bar. So wake up roll not only cost less, but sometimes it led to a bigger payoff. Because not only could you side switch with someone trying to attack you, you could get a full combo for them trying to perform Oki on you. That's not cute. This makes the opponent that's knocked down more dangerous when they're knocked down than when they're standing, which goes against decades and decades of fighting game tradition. Anyone from any other fighting game, including the ones that you mention, will tell you that when you knock a bitch down, the person that's knocked down is at their most vulnerable when they're on the ground. Even if they do have wake up options, they're still supposed to be more vulnerable on the ground, not less. MK11 turned that on its head. Okay? Then you got the flawless block system, specifically the flawless block reversals, where you could potentially give yourself plus frames either by poking the opponent or performing a special or a normal or a string that was plus on block. Your opponent could flawless block reversal you for you taking your turn when you're plus. Again, subverting decades of fighting game tradition. Not just by MK standards, by any fighting game standards. And then you have the fatal blows, which completely disrupted the flow of good neutral that MK11 was supposed to be prioritizing. You can't play neutral with Jax's fatal blow in MK11. Sorry. Not sorry. But you'd have to be an MK player to know all those things, which I can see why you wouldn't know. But let's continue.
That's what everybody's gripe was about MK11. The defensive bar. What?
Defensive bar? This man can't even decide what he thinks his gripe, our gripe is. How you gonna speak for us and not know what you talking about? Seriously. Our gripe was never the defensive bar. No, we didn't give a fuck about no defensive bar. We didn't like the breakaway system. Excuse me. I got COVID and I'm recovering from it. So y'all gonna have to forgive me if I sound nasally and shit. Should have addressed that at the beginning, but that's neither here nor there. So for one, you could have kept the defensive bar if it were being used for breakers rather than break away. People wouldn't have said shit if defensive bar was used for breakaways. I'm sorry, used for breakers, like the ones we had in MKX and MK9 and MK Armageddon and MK goddamn Deception. Okay? We've been having breakers for damn near 20 years in our Mortal Kombat games. Breakers ain't nothing new. But this shit was some new shit. This was some injustice ass shit that was ported over to MK, and it didn't work for exactly the reasons that you listed. Reasons that I'm going to go over in more detail in a moment.
Watching how people play MK1 online, it's obvious why they have a problem with the defensive mechanics in MK11. Because let's be real, MK players don't care about defense anyway.
Bitch, who are you? You're not an MK player. Who you think you talking about? How you gonna speak for the entirety of the MK community when you know you're not a part of it? First and foremost, there is no such thing as MK players don't want this or MK players do want this. MK players is such a wide and nebulous term that does not cover all the various factions within the MK community. I'm not going to get into all of them because that's not important. The point is, there are very few issues in which all factions and all segments of the MK community are unified, especially when it comes to gameplay. Okay? I will say this. The faction that I belong to, I'm not going to even consider myself a spokesperson of that, but I'm going to act as one right now. We like defensive options. We applaud defensive options, and we encourage players to use defensive options, and we ourselves use and love the defensive options. There are lots of defensive options in MK1. Good walk speed is a great defensive option. Strong anti-airs are a great defensive option. Up block is a fantastic defensive option, but if you spam it, you can get blown up. That's why it's great. Flawless block is a great defensive option. Nullifies chip, nullifies meter build. Awesome. Okay. Regular MK9 style wake ups are back. Well, they're not fully MK9 style because they ain't invulnerable, but you can wake up with an armored attack, just like an MK9. That's a defensive option, and with the right cameo, it becomes a launcher. So then it becomes offensive too. You see? But virtually every wake up that you could do is definitely unsafe on block. So if you're wrong, you get blown the fuck up. That's the way it should be. You see what I'm saying? We like defensive options. We enjoy them. Yes, we do. So I don't know what the fuck you think you talking about, homeboy. You don't make no fucking sense. Let's continue.
MK players complained when they felt that their turn was stolen from them. Man, I tell you, only Mortal Kombat players have this amount of fucking arrogance.
Yeah. Yet we don't have the arrogance to talk shit about games that we don't play. Either we talk shit about our own games or we don't. You have the arrogance to talk shit about a series that you clearly don't play or understand. Yeah. And as to the point that's being made about people being rightfully upset that the combo that they successfully hit their opponent with got turned into a combo against them, bro, any player from any fucking franchise would be upset at that too. Here's the scenario. You got two players of equal skill. Player 1, player 2. Player 1 hits player 2 with a combo because he won the neutral. Player 1 launches player 2, right? Player 2 drops out of player 1's combo, but because of the mechanics of the game, player 1 is stuck performing the animations of the combo, thus giving player 2 ample time to wake up and combo player 1. That's wrong. Not because it's my opinion, but because decades of fighting game precedent have taught us that when somebody wins the neutral, they are rewarded with a hit, whether that's a combo, whether that's a poke or a throw. They are rewarded for winning neutral, not punished. I know, big brain stuff, right? Maybe I'm arrogant to want to be rewarded for winning. I guess. You know. I mean, put it like this. If this were MMA, you know how there's scorecards and you get scores based on how you performed in the match? Imagine every time you hit your opponent, you lost points. Would that make sense to you? You hit them, you lost points. You lose a point for every successful punch you land. That don't make no sense, do it? I didn't think so. This guy apparently thinks that makes sense. He's defending some bullshit. Let me continue.
Made them furious to lose something they felt they had earned, only for the situation to be turned against them just like that. I'm talking about breakaways, people. The first player would be in the middle of a juggle combo, and then all of a sudden, the second player would trigger a breakaway, get up, and then punish the first player. And it fucking worked all the time.
Yeah, it's wrong. And Mortal Kombat players are not the only players that would not fuck with this and did not fuck with this. No other fighting game player from any other fighting game series would fuck with it. Not only that, I can't think of a single other fighting game series that has a game mechanic in which the comboing player can get punished for successfully hitting their opponent with a combo. I can't think of a system like that. Maybe there is. Maybe there's another game that punish players like that, but I can't think of one. Can you? Don't worry. We'll wait.
That is the main issue of why MK players hated MK11. Not anti-airs.
No one cares about that. No one cared about that.
Not hitboxes.
No one cared about that.
Something that MK players don't want to hear. There was a simple solution to keep that situation from happening. All you had to do was this. Stop mashing.
What the fuck does mashing have to do with losing? Bruh, this motherfucker don't make no sense. What does mashing have to do with winning neutral and then getting your combo turned into a combo against you? Where does mashing even apply here? I'm trying to figure that out. And dude don't provide no explanations neither. So he be saying shit that he don't know makes sense, or maybe he knows it doesn't make sense. I don't know. Let's continue.
Stop it. Yes, that was what they were doing, and that is exactly what they're still doing to this day. This fact is being proven by how these people are playing MK1. I said this earlier. You can't dispute the fact of what we see with our own eyes.
All right, now I want you to pay attention to what he says here, because it's about to be some bullshit. Watch this.
When you pay attention to how MK1 players fight, they are inputting full strings constantly.
MK1 players are inputting full strings constantly. No down pokes, no throws, no staggers, no cameos, just full strings constantly. That's what he says. But look at the video.
Even on block, and a lot of times they don't even end it with a cameo.
Sub-Zero just did a fucking poke that was blocked, and then Shang Tsung followed that up with a poke. I didn't know a poke was a string.
Because what was it that they hated? They didn't like getting their combos interrupted at any time. Because,
as I stated, we've been used to combo breakers for the past 20 years. That shit ain't nothing new. No one ever cried against combo breakers. What we didn't like was getting comboed for successfully hitting a combo on somebody. That's bullshit. And that's not just bullshit in the MK community. That's bullshit in any community. Continue.
Because this is what happened. They had their combos memorized. They knew what buttons to push in the right order. And when it was their turn, damn it, they were going to get that full combo off that they practiced for hours. The problem was the other player broke away from their asses while they were still mashing. So what does...
Hold on a second, y'all. Sorry about that. That's the lawn people doing their thing, doing what they supposed to do.
They broke away from their asses while they were still mashing. So what does NetherRealm do? They removed the offensive and defensive bars and returned to the MKX 3-bar system.
First and foremost, if you gonna talk shit about Mortal Kombat, at least know what the fuck you talking about, man. So as I've demonstrated many times, this man does not know what the hell he's saying. The 3-bar system did not originate from MKX. It originated from MK9. And it's an adaptation of the system from MK versus DC. Let me pause this real quick. My bad, y'all. Yeah, so I was talking about meter. This meter system emanated from MK9. And MK9 got their meter system from MK versus DC, except they modified it and actually made it worth a damn instead of it being a broken mess. See, instead of having pro moves and rage like MK versus DC, MK9 turned the meter system into the 3-tiered meter system that we see in MK1 today. That did not start with MKX. The fact that old boy here doesn't seem to know that, but wants to sit here and rag about our games and our community, you looking stupid as fuck right now.
No more breakaways. Now all we see is this. The other player has to build up 3 bars just to break this.
Weren't you the one advocating for eating 30% for a mistake? You were advocating for that, right? So when someone plays against one of the very best players in our scene, Ninja Killer, and he lights your ass up for 46% or 47% in the corner, why is that a problem? Why is that an issue? You advocated for this, didn't you? Make up your mind.
But by that point, the match is already over. You don't hear these motherfuckers complaining about that now, do you? Nah. They just moved on to something else to complain about, like no crossplay at the time of this video, online functionality, and store prices. But that's how the FGC is. They'll always find something to complain about.
So wait a minute. So you're complaining about MK players and the MK1 game, but then you're also complaining about MK players complaining about their game? What the fuck? Like, I'm confused as shit. Also, not all complaints are created equally. There's obviously good ones and there's bad ones, right? Complaints about the online server desyncing and the netcode not being up to snuff and the Wi-Fi filter letting people cherry pick who the fuck they want to face and who they don't want to face. Those kind of complaints are legitimate. Complaints about, players being able to move before the round begins. People complaining about player one advantage. Those are legitimate complaints. But people complaining about character balance and how this game is a broken mess and all this type of shit, that's illegitimate. People complaining about a lack of defensive options in MK1, that's illegitimate. You see how that works? Not all complaints are created equally. Some complaints are valid, some are invalid. You should know.
But wait, there's more. Let me throw some truth in your trash. When you compare these two titles, MK11 is the better game.
No. MK11 was the more polished game. It was the more complete game. But the one area that matters the very most to players of any game is the gameplay. If your game fails in that key area, almost everything else it has to offer is irrelevant. And in that one area, MK11 faltered a lot. Its lack of combo options alienated players. All the various mechanics that I illuminated earlier, they alienated players. And not just novices and scrubs. I'm talking elite level players. People like Forever King that didn't play MK11 because he said it was boring. Forever King is a multiple time tournament winner, an Evo medalist, an OG in the Mortal Kombat fighting game scene. And he skipped out on a whole ass game because of the way it played. He's not a scrub. And he wasn't even the only one. There are plenty of other pro players that didn't play that game either for the same reasons. Okay? So, the same game that you're out here trying to lionize right now, when it was in its heyday, people excoriated that shit. The same way you're excoriating MK1 now. Move on.
Oh, they don't want to hear that. I'm not even going to bring up MK1's online problems. Not even going to go into why the crypt was more fun than invasions.
That's true.
I'm going to keep it simple. Keep it simplistic. Compare high-level MK1 gameplay to that in high-level MK11. Make one mistake in MK1 and get hit with a 50% damage combo that could last more than 10 seconds.
Again, did you not just advocate for players getting blown up for 30% off of making one mistake? You just advocated for that, did you not? Like literally, what, 2 minutes prior to this in this video? Now you're trying to say it's a negative here? Make up your fucking mind.
Make another mistake and the round's over. In MK11.
Also, that's a fighting game staple. Fuck up and get fucked up. That's how it works. It works like that in Street Fighter. It works like that in Tekken. It works like that in Guilty Gear. It works like that in Skullgirls. I don't give a damn what the game is. If you fuck up, you get fucked up. That's how it works. You would know that if you knew what you were talking about.
11, you have to respect the other player's offensive and defensive bars. And we all know the FGC has an issue with the word respect.
Whenever you have to start an argument with and we all know, blah, blah, that's a telltale sign that your argument about to be weak as fuck. Because who is we? And what are we all supposed to be knowing? Fighting game players don't know anything about respect? For real? So you mean to tell me there's no tournament footage of players just blocking right in front of each other because they're respecting each other's options? Really? Okay. Anyway, the bigger point that he's trying to make is that there's somehow some sort of difference between high-level MK11 play and high-level MK1 play. There's not. There's not. High-level gameplay is high-level gameplay. The only difference is the amount of fun the players are having and the options that they have available to them. I will say this much. The vast majority of tournament players that played both MK11 and MK1 will all unanimously say that they enjoy MK1 far more than MK11. You can go ask them. You can go to their YouTube. You can go to their Twitter. You can go to whatever social media they got. They will all tell you they preferred MK1 to MK11. That's from their mouths. The only people, seemingly, the primary group of people that seem to prefer MK11 to MK1 are the lower level people. The ones that never learned footsies and spacing and whiff punishing and baiting and anti-airs. Those are the people that prefer MK11 for the most part. There are also those people that prefer a more complete game, which I don't blame them for, I prefer a more complete game as well. But if we're talking just gameplay to gameplay, there's a very specific type of player that prefers MK11. And those tend to be the players that were more carried by those gameplay mechanics that I illuminated earlier. Continue.
You couldn't spam out full strings and just get away with it, which means you had to use your skills and really think about what you needed to do to win.
You have to do that in every fighting game ever. All fighting games, you have to do that, or you're going to get fucked up. Even in a game like MKX, which I don't even fuck with, at high levels of play, you have to think about what you're doing, or you'll die. Even though that game is unga bunga. You know what I'm saying? You're contradicting your own points here. Let's continue.
I'm sorry, but MK1 is straight up a fucking brain dead game.
Ah, this is the crux of what this video is all about. At the end of the day, he doesn't have actual legitimate arguments as to why MK11 is a superior game. He just doesn't like this game. He doesn't like MK1. And rather than come out and say, I don't like MK1, I prefer MK11 more because of personal preferences that I have, he's going to spin this whole web of narrative bullshit and rhetorical nonsense in order to try to justify this shit. And the worst part is, he's got a bunch of motherfuckers in these comments that agree with a lot of this bullshit. Oh, you got the games mixed up. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Somebody put a more fact-based reply, and here this nigga talk about some MK1 is the boring one. So you're not even part of... Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Fuck out of here. Anyway. So this is one of the things that I care about the most on my channel is about being objective. And I know that I sound like I've, been hating on MK11, but the truth of the matter is I don't hate MK11. I liked MK11 a lot when it was out because it was a departure from the things that I disliked about MKX. I disliked those particular things about MKX then. I dislike them now. I dislike certain aspects of MK11 back then. I dislike them now. Okay? I'm principled. I'm objective. I'm not going to pretend as though the things that I dislike from those games are somehow indicators that those games are universally bad. That is a conflation. And that's a conflation that, oh boy here, Lou from the Hue is guilty of. And a lot of people are guilty of this. They think because the things I don't like, because, of things that exist in the game that I don't like, that means the game is bad. The game is bad if it has things I don't like. No, bitch. It has things you don't like. Doesn't make it a bad game. It's not how that works. MKX is not a bad game because it has a bunch of Unga Bunga stuff in it. Unga Bunga's fun to people. The run mechanic is fun. 50-50s are fun. Crazy jump-ins are fun. Strong forward movement is fun. Lots of combo routes and options are fun. A lot of people love MKX for the exact same reasons that I don't. So what right does that give me to say that MKX is a bad game because it has things I don't like? None. I can just say that I don't prefer MKX for some of the reasons that I named. That's the objective thing to do. But what most motherfuckers do is they say The things that I don't like are bad. And the games that have the things I don't like are bad games. That's basically what the argument boils down to. Use a fucking clown if you make that argument. If you make that kind of argument, you making a clownish ass argument, bruh. It's a clownish argument. It really is. Okay? I'm not going to talk too much of your head off because as you can hear, I'm stuffed up enough as it is. But I appreciate y'all for rocking with me with this video. Share your thoughts and comment below and catch me for the next one. Peace.